Right. So we're back. And we'll keep working. Let's look at some teeth. So looking at the Allosauruses, looks like they have teeth that kind of vary in shape or size. But they look kind of like steak knives, honestly. So what I'm going to do is make at least one insert mesh brush, and then basically go in and just start inserting teeth into the gum line. And then we'll have different ones of like different sizes and stuff and work through that. Since this guy, if you want to kind of go at this intelligently, it would make sense to think about, like what does this creature eat? And so if it's carnivore, then clearly it needs to have sharp teeth, that it can rip and tear with. One of the things about humans is we have specialized teeth. We have incisors, canines, and molars. And so each one of those does different things. The incisors and the canines shear and tear food. They work pretty well on meat and vegetables and all sorts of stuff, but not really like raw meat. Our teeth are kind of made for cooked food. But the molars is really what helps us shear food apart and like tear it apart so we can actually swallow it. Whereas these guys have these huge steak knife teeth that are really made not for chewing, but they're just tearing and shredding meat, and then they swallow that. So, if he's eating any sort of vegetable matter or anything like that, then there's other types of teeth that we could look at to kind of emulate. So, like iguanas eat a lot of fruit. They eat vegetables. I think they eat some insects. Maybe not. But you see, like their teeth are not. They're much more numerous, but they're kind of spade-like. See the marine iguanas have almost like clovers. So you could go with maybe a different shape of tooth. If you're making a humanoid character, then just make human teeth. But just something to think about is like, what kind of teeth do you want to make? So if you're looking at, I'm kind of been talking about like Komodo dragons, since those are like large lizards that still live today. Sorry, I'm actually typing on the tablet. There we go, Komodo dragon teeth. So a lot of their teeth are kind of hidden inside the gums. They're not as easily seen. Like you kind of look and you don't really see them, but they're kind of sheathed in this kind of fatty gum. And then they are, when they press their mouths down, then the teeth kind of come out. So it's almost a little bit like Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon, which is kind of terrifying. As you see there, like you can see the teeth, like they have these hooked teeth that they use to like dig in to their prey with, and it's pretty damn terrifying. But again, it's very steak knife like. But then if you look at like an alligator, their teeth are not really serrated. they're they're puncturing. They're made to puncture and hold, while the alligator and crocodile, same thing, um, puncture, hold, and then tear by twisting. So again, kind of thinking about like what purpose these teeth um, serve, uh, can be used to inform what design decisions you make for this character. So, if you want something that maybe looks a bit more sophisticated, more specialized teeth, again, are going to be kind of calling back to more human, uh, or mammalian aspects. Would probably make us have a little bit more of like a connection with it. But if you go more brutish, brutal, savage, something like big, rounded, sharp teeth, probably would be somewhere in between. And then, if you did like long needle teeth, that could, maybe look a little more snake-like or lizard-like, um, something like that. So just something to think about, because I'm a big fan of doing, of thinking about this background, evolutionary history of like whatever it is you're creating when it comes to creatures, and how we can use that to kind of subconsciously, help the story of this thing, of this character. So just some thoughts there. Let's see what other. Let's do it just a generic search. So we got a chameleon. Looks like they're kind of stubby teeth. Kind of generically serrated teeth. It could be. Maybe these guys are insect eaters. Maybe that's the entire species is they're insect eaters. So maybe that could work. And maybe there's like different types of teeth. Maybe there's some, maybe they're insect and, I don't know. Maybe they do different things. All right, let's go make some teeth. Tiny little gecko needle teeth. Yeah, I bet those hurt. Okay, let's do it. Okay. I'm gonna go over and let's just want to Dynamesh real quick, just so I can kind of clean up or basically fix that topology on top, because it's gonna cause a pull and really no matter what. So we'll do that. Do Control Shift, and instead of doing select rectangle, I'm gonna go to trim. You see these trim brushes right here. I'll do a trim rectangle. And do Control Shift and go swipe, and that's going to basically trim off part of this brush for it, or part of this guy for us. Control Shift, and then let's do that. So now we got something kind of looks a little tooth-like. Turn off the symmetry real quick. So down. Design that real quick. There we go. Simplify that topology. Looks good. And I'm going to show you guys some deformers. So I'm gonna, with the move tool activated, I'm gonna hit the gear, and you'll see these different transforms. Okay, we can actually deform deform this shape in a bunch of different ways. If you want, I honestly would say just go through and look at each one of these and play with them. They do a lot of neat different, a lot of different things. There's two, a bend arc and a bend curve. They're both kind of interesting. So the bend arc basically allows me to bend a shape I want to. Like that. So that's kind of neat. I can do, there's a lot of neat little things you can do with that. You can even make it full circle if you want. Bend curve allows me to basically bend it, let's see, along basically a curve that I can shape. And it'll start off with an axis like that. I want to change my axis to top to bottom, just like that. And I want to change my resolution. So I only have 2 points. And I want to change it to, let's say, 5. And so I want to be able to, wanting to, so I kind of want to make the tooth taper back just a little bit. Kind of thinking of like those Komodo dragon teeth. It's going to be a little bit knife-like. Just like that. So you see, the neat thing is, again, this is a curve, so I can kind of go in and play around with it however I want to. There's a lot of uses for this. If you want to do like hoses or belts or straps or all sorts of stuff, you can bend things really well with it. It's pretty neat. Okay, so let's just do, I'm happy with this. I'm going to click the gear, click accept, control shift. I'm just going to basically just move it down a little bit, or yeah, basically trim that and do a little Dynamesh. And then what I'm going to do is go to, let's do, I'm going to divide it. And what I want to do is maybe do just some very light serrations. And so maybe I can do that with a pen shadow. I'll see if this will work. I'll divide it again. And that should work. Just go around. And this side's going to be the more visible side anyway, so I'm going to do a little more. Pay attention a little bit more to there. on the mesh. It's bringing that resolution up a little bit. Just lightly going through and smoothing. Polish. There's a little clay buildup on the surface. Let's get that kind of polished. That's so strong. Bring that down. So that's something about. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna put my camera up above the tooth. Let's fatten it up a little bit. Actually, let's run. Let me inflate on it. Okay, that'll work. All right, so anyway, like I was saying, let's do, I feel like a brush. I'm gonna make the insert mesh brush now. So go to brush, and here's the thing. If you wanted to do, let's say for example, we still have that claw brush, right? If you want to do a insert multi-mesh brush, we can actually attach it to the claw brush. So you have like one brush that has multiple things you can select from. So let's just do that. So let's do brush, again with this one selected. I want to go to insert, create insert multi-mesh. So, well, actually, I'm sorry. What I should have was just insert mesh. What it did was it basically made a insert mesh brush or insert multi-mesh out of every single one of my subtools. That's a method too. That can work as well. But what I was meaning to do was brush, insert mesh, and it says the current one is an insert mesh. Would you like to append or make a new one? I want to append. And now you see that I have a brush with two of these on here. Now, if you close out a ZBrush and reopen it, this brush will not be there. So if you want to save it, you got to go under brush, save as, and then we're going to put that, you just name it whatever you want, but it's going to be saved as a ZBP. These are ZBrush profiles, okay? And then whenever you reopen ZBrush, you can go to brush load, and this is how you, if you get a insert mesh brush or really any brush online, like because if you go like the Bad King or any website that you can download a ZBrush sculpting brush off of, you would go to load brush and you would load it from here, and that's how you bring it in. Okay, it works. Let's switch over. There you go. So what I want to do is I want to go over to the gums. I'm going to turn off a lot of this. And I just want to look at the gums. So I'm going to go and start inserting the teeth in here. Okay. So let's go and take one. Okay, so that's going the wrong direction. So I need to just pull it. I'm going to pull it in the opposite direction. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. And I'm just going to run this let's see a little bit. All right. Okay. Basically, hold down Control and just basically go through and duplicate these guys. It might make it easier, honestly, just to go through and just kind of throw them in and then move them right after. I'm going to give these like varying scales and rotation and things like that. Flip it over. Move it over to the other side. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pull these teeth onto a separate subtool. Let's do a split to similar parts. Click OK. That should get a subtool with just all the teeth. Good. There we go. All right. The teeth. Let's go and go to polygroups, auto groups. Because remember, there, since I'm duplicating these, they're all going to be the same group, and I want to be able to select them really easily. And then I want to make sure the groups are mirrored. I'm going to go to modify. Make sure we understand. Looking in here, so we want to make sure these are all the same. Mirrored weld. Okay, this should be good. Okay. So there we go. We got those. Okay. Move these out. I'm just moving these out too. They will fit. Or where they should be, I guess. That should be in the gun. Autosaves tend to take a little bit more time when you have a lot of history and other Z tools that are open, so it takes a minute. That's pretty good so far. So you may notice that my computer is slowing down a bit. Part of that is due to the load that the scene is starting to take on the computer. I have a lot of faces, a lot of like a few objects in here, a few subtools that don't have subdivisions. And so when you have high poly objects with no subdivisions, that basically is forcing the computer to display those objects at full resolution all the time. And then so when you do things like move the object or rotate it or really do anything, it's having to compute a lot of stuff very quickly. And it's easier on the computer if it has subdivisions, because it can basically jump down to those subdivisions, move your object, and then re-up it. So it's virtually moving that object. So I'm going to get to a point here, especially with the body, because as you notice, I'm sure you guys notice that it is causing the computer to slow down a little bit. Not necessarily feel that my computer's a slouch. It's a little bit older, but anyway. But it definitely makes the scene run a whole lot smoother when I can allow Zbruch to kind of simplify the scene a little bit with objects that have subdivision levels. So I'm going to get to that point fairly soon, and you'll see the process for that. And it's really just more of a place that you get to when you kind of need to improve the runtime. Or the basically the speed of your scene. So I'm kind of making this one just a little bit bigger. Those are looking like the Allosaurus skull and stuff. You see, teeth that are larger and smaller, and probably, those animals have like teeth that fall out, or when they get into fights and stuff, or just fall out naturally, and they're probably just regrowing teeth constantly. There's showing some variety to kind of allude to that type of behavior, I believe. Smaller. Doing kind of a natural arch where the teeth are kind of getting larger and smaller. My thought is maybe this one got into a fight and had some of the teeth knocked out in a certain location. And then they're all just kind of growing back in. Wouldn't that be great if we could all have our teeth get knocked out and then they grow back in? Which I probably wouldn't enjoy that, but it'd definitely be helpful if we could have our teeth grow back. That'd be very helpful. I feel like this also adds a little bit of character to the alien as well. I mean, let's be honest, it's not really an alien, it's a dinosaur boy, so nothing alien about him. Just a bipedal theropod living his best life. I ran out of space, or not ran out of space, I'm running out of teeth. I'm gonna need some more. Okay, let's go another one. Sure. That one. Needs to go out a little bit. Poly group again. I was duplicating some of these, so let's just do auto groups again. Now I'll just duplicate or mirror over in a second. Maybe a couple too many. There we go. Let's do. Just go and turn off symmetry. And I'll just duplicate these over in a second. A couple small ones. Maybe kind of. Okay. Let's mirror that over. Okay. I'm just going to kind of change up the size of a few of these. Change this a little bit. This is kind of selecting both of these two. Sorry, that was kind of acting weird. mask off that one. And it should be. Just do a mirror and weld. Okay, I'm noticing I'm not really accumulating history at this point. There's probably some sort of memory issue, I'm guessing. So actually what I want to do is go to save as. I'm going to save this guy, and then I'm actually going to close out of Zbruch and reopen it. I think I'm running out of memory. Let's just do it. Okay, I'm back. All right. So, what I want to do is I want to separate this teeth, but I want to go ahead and make a subtool for these teeth that has a lower subdivision level, because these are 4.6 million. Okay, I mean, yeah, these teeth have some detail to them, but I want to be able to lower them down if I need to for whatever reason. Plus, I'm going to have to need to get a lower poly version of these teeth anyhow. Whenever I bring this into Maya, so I need to do that. Well, that'll kind of basically bring us through the automated retopologization option inside of ZBrush. I use this for simpler objects, or I use this for kind of workarounds when I need to save some memory. And so this is what I'll do. First thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and I'm gonna grab this tooth right here. I'm just gonna move it a little bit. I'm just gonna separate it. I want to make sure these teeth are separate. Simply because when I do the reprojection option in here, I don't want to accidentally screw up the projection. There we go. You know, with all these teeth together, they actually look kind of good. So, all right, so what I need to do, I'm going to turn off my subtools except for the teeth. Basically everything but the teeth gets turned off. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and take my teeth and I am going to duplicate them. I got 2 of these. The second one, again, 4.6 million, and I don't have any subdivision. I need to create a lower resolution base mesh. 4.6 million is way too high. That is very high. It's just not going to be something I can work with in ZBrush very easily, or not ZBrush, in Maya very easily. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Z-Remesher right here. And so this is a automated retopologization tool. Now, just to be clear, when we get to doing retopologization for your character model, what I'm going to be looking for is a mixture of automated retopologization in some places that we can get away with it, such as teeth, because teeth don't really move or flex. And then you're going to have to do retopologization in Maya, where you are learning about proper topology. Okay, so I want to make sure you understand there's a difference. There's a one-button approach that gives you a lower base mesh, but the topology is kind of crappy. It's not very good, but it works for what we need it for this. And then there's also a manual method but we're laying in the edge loops and making the faces, and it takes more time, but it's worth it because it makes a really good product. All right. So ZRemesher, just to run it, you click ZRemesher and it'll do it. But there are options. So you have options such as target poly count. So right now it's at 5. That means basically you can lower it or raise it. The lower the number, the less faces the mesh is going to end up having. The higher the number, the more faces the mesh is going to have. Okay, more faces mean it's going to have more detail. Less faces mean less detail. Less faces means it's going to run faster in Maya. More faces means it's going to be a little bit heavier. Adaptive size, right below it, this area, is basically the lower the number, the less likely it's going to try to get every single crevice in the mesh or in detail in the mesh. Higher number means it is going to try to get those details more, okay? It's not really a magic button to get all of your details. That's not really gonna happen, but it can help. We have options such as curve strength. That means we can actually lay in curves on mesh where we can try to say, hey, I want there to be a edge loop specifically here. So we can actually use curve strength too, but on this mesh, not really. It's not really a reason for that. So right now it's thinking. So we're just gonna let it think, and I'm gonna take a break until it comes back. All right, so we got it completed. And so what we have now is it went from 4-point-something million to 40,000 faces. That is a distinctive drop. And that's what the topology looks like. Looks good, looks real good. Now, what I need to do is I need to subdivide this mesh, this subtool, to about 4 million. So it has multiple subdivision levels in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the projection, or I'm going to project the detail, those little like serrations and little, cuts and stuff on the teeth. I'm going to take that and project that onto the retopologized base mesh right here. Okay. What that's going to do is it's going to give us a low res mesh that we can, use in Maya, but it also connects to a higher resolution mesh so that when we're working with this model and flipping around and looking at stuff, it can actually lower the resolution to something that's manageable, 40,000, which is quite manageable, and then raise it back up when we need to. All right, so this is how I'm going to do it. I have both of these subtools turned on. Again, remember we have 2 subtools. All right, the high resolution teeth. These guys right here, you can see how high resolution they are. And then we have the lower resolution teeth right here. I'm going to go with the low resolution. Both of these again are turned on. Low resolution is selected. I'm going to go to geometry, divide. I'm going to go 1. You see it jumps up to 160,000. Divide again, 2, 640,000. I'm going to divide again, 2.5 million. Divide again. Then I'll go up to like 10 million. There we go, 10. That's way over what the other one was. That was like 4 million. That's fine. Honestly, that's fine. Well, what I call this is ballparking the number. Is 10 million closer to 4 million versus 2 million? No, but it's we want to get closer to that number or go over that number. Because we want to have enough faces to where any detail we have, we can project it onto that new mesh. Okay, we want to project it. We want to have the same relatively close or better resolution to project it onto. So I'm going to, with that projected or not projected, but that subdivided, I'm going to go back over to subtool. I'm going to go to project, which is right here. Okay. I'm going to go to, you see where it says project all, okay? And it's going to think for a minute. I'm gonna pause it real quick. I'll be right back. All right. That only took about 20 minutes. But if we go ahead and turn off the old teeth, you can see that we have details on the new ones. You can see that when we rotate around, see how they drop in resolution. You can see it right there if you look. It drops in resolution for us, which is great. That's what we want. So as long as everything looks good, we can go ahead and delete the additional teeth. So these teeth will be what we use from now on. And let's go ahead and turn on some of the other subtools. I just want to see what it looks like with everything in here. Put that tongue in there. Looks good. Yeah, it's very dinosaur-like. All right, so before we finish up for today, I'll finish up this video. I'm going to go and work on the tongue a little bit and just give it some detail. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, so I'm going to make sure we get a better topology on that tongue. So I just went in and did a zero mesh. Honestly, it's 8,000 faces. That's a little bit high for me, especially for something this simple. So let's lower that target poly count. Zero mesh again. Took 8,000 down to 2,000. It's better. Let's bring it down again. I'd like a fairly simple tongue shape. Okay, that's 1,000. Let's just see if we can go any lower. That's 530. Okay, I'll take that. That's pretty low. So what I can do is then go ahead and divide a couple times, and then kind of sculpt on top of that. So honestly, for the same, if you look at like pictures of your tongue, go look in a mirror, look up pictures of lizard tongues or whatever. Honestly, probably lizard tongue, you probably get something like that. Forked tongue. I'm not entirely sure if we really even know what dinosaur tongues even look like. If we look at something like a alligator tongue. See what that thing looks like. Pretty wide. I think these things act as like a valve or something. It says it like right about here. Basically when they go underwater, which isn't necessarily something I've considered for my guy. But that kind of makes sense though, as they use the tongue to kind of, I guess, close off the back of the throat. Not honestly, the tongue doesn't really look that interesting. Let's look up some other tongues. Kimono dragon, yeah. That's exactly it. Okay, Komodo dragon, forked tongue, something we think of more of like a lizard reptile. I believe the fork tongue is like a sensory organ where it can basically use it to smell with or taste with, kind of using it as like a probe, tasting the air. So that might be, that could be interesting. What else do we got? What does an iguana tongue look like? It does not look, I mean, it looks a little forked. Yeah, it looks a little forked. Chunky little thing. Kind of cute, honestly. It's kind of a cute looking tongue. So it looks like, if we're leaning more lizard, probably more forked um, versus not forked. I'm just curious if anyone has any idea of what a dinosaur tongue. Okay, so I think they're probably more like, so probably maybe a little bit more like a, let's go off of here, more like an alligator with the rooted to the bottom of the mouth, which I guess lizards are not. So then let's take a look at, what survives now that's related to dinosaurs, birds. So what does a bird tongue look like? I guess that's kind of a big question. Really. Let's go with a little more specific. Okay. Interesting. It almost looks like it has a barb on it. And I think they do have a barb on it. Interesting. Okay. I guess that's to pull meat into the mouth. Weird. That's very creepy. Okay. Um, so maybe let's do something kind of in between alligator and lizard. Something that's rooted at the bottom of the mouth. Since that's similar to what we have, where our tongues are anchored to the bottom of our mouths. Um, Honestly, a fatter tongue anyway is going to look a little more human. It's something maybe we can empathize with, but maybe it's a little bit forked. So kind of maybe like an iguana. So sides. You can take damn standard brush and go down the middle. The neat thing is if I go down and hold shift as I'm moving down, you'll see I can make a straight line. As soon as I let go of shift, it's going to basically take that brush stroke all the way to the end of that line. It's kind of cool. Now, if I'm going to be doing a forked tongue, I am going to have to split the end of this. So if we try to do that one way, hold down Control Shift and do a trim lasso. And basically just try to make this go where I'm trying to trim out part of that. That doesn't seem to be working very well. Let's try remove. Actually, let's do it I'm going to take this, and I'm going to pull it back a little bit. Make it a little bit short. Okay. And then I'm going to go back up to the 135,000. I'm going to use snake hook right here. And snake hook is going to allow me to kind of pull out. See how it looks a little bit fork now. I can kind of pull out the fork. I'm going to need to Z-remesh this because I'm basically screwing up the topology pretty bad. Drop it down to the lower subdivision level. The reason why is because then I can more effectively work with this on a lower subdivision level. I'll play it a little bit more. So something like that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run a Dynamesh. Yeah, I know. Okay. So that's telling me it's, I don't want to run Dynamesh. Yeah, I know I don't. And then I'm going to run a Z-remesh in a second. Just do it down standard real quick. Okay. Bring it up again. I'm basically just going to run it through right down the center, right here. Okay. And then let's do a inflate. I'll try to inflate the forks. Okay, just like that. Just going to move that up. Another Dynamesh, just like that. Okay, so now we're going to go back to Z-remesh. So it's going to give us a better topology. 634. That's good to me. I'm just proving that's a little tense right there. All right, we're going to divide, divide. Yeah, we'll divide again. Okay, so 160,000. So now I got my fork. It's better. Okay. And let's check and make sure it still fits in the mouth. Yep, still fits in the mouth. Okay. All right. Let's go to do standard. Right here. Switch material real quick. No, that one. You know what? I think that matte top will be fine. I just want to set that I can see detail a little bit better. So I'm just going to work that, basically work a little division in here, because if you look at the lizard tongues, it's very clear, like, I mean, if you look at our tongues, it's basically two muscles that are kind of like sewn together or stitched together with skin. Okay. And so with lizard tongues, it's just way more evident that that's what. In fact, if you ever look at any videos of some people that do kind of like some weird stuff, like weird body modifications, there's a whole thing of like people that will split their tongues, and then they end up having these like weird lizard tongue things. It's kind of bizarre. I'm going to do a ridge on the side where it kind of has a little bit of a flap. That's kind of where like the dividing line between the top and the bottom of the tongue is. For humans, it's not really evident, but like if you look at something like horse tongues or like I think like dog and cow tones. It looks kind of funky. Like it's, you can definitely see it. So I'm gonna show you this. Just go and do it. Here's the ad right here. So I'm just gonna do a line. I'm just kind of just all up the side like that. Just like that. There's just a little bit of an edge right there. And then a little bit of a wave. Why? I don't know. I think it looks cool. That's why. Smooth out the bottom, smooth out the top a little bit. Scalloped edge look. All right, I want to put in some taste buds. So I'm actually going to do a spray, standard brush, and an alpha. I'm just going to use one of like little dotted alphas. One of these guys will work. I'm just going to make it kind of light. I'm just going to go over the top. Just give it some texture. There we go. Now let's subdivide this a little bit more. A little bit more definition on it. I'll do it, change that over to a drag rectangle. Yeah, I'm just gonna drag on some of these dots. Now we got like a, almost like a layered texture going on here where I have this underlying noise. And on top of it we have throwing it in here as much as possible. Something you may notice as we're going down the middle right here is it's kind of getting a little bit obvious that I'm using symmetry. What you probably would want to do, turn off symmetry every once in a while, and then just kind of break it up by just adding a little bit more detail as you get closer to the center line. Something like that. And then on the bottom, we can do like some veins. So let's go back to the pin shadow. Pin shadow is actually a lot of fun for veins. And I'm gonna do a Z add and turn off the RGB, otherwise we're painting the color on it, which is good, but we don't need to paint color on it right now. I'll turn off the texture. And Turn back on our symmetry. And see how beautiful this pin shadow is. I'm just kind of lightly just adding some little branching veins that kind of come off. A little bit closer to that symmetry line, so I'm just going to turn it off right there. Some of these are getting a little bit too high for my taste, so I'm just going to go in and just kind of smooth them down. Because again, these veins are underneath the skin, so they really shouldn't be that tall. It's just going to be right under that skin. Um, let's do just like just a slight break of noise on the surface. I'm gonna do something a little bit. No, I'm not gonna use that one I used before. Let's do. Use that one right there. Very low intensity. You see it's still smooth, but we're kind of breaking it up just a little bit. It almost looks like kind of like skin pores. Right, just real briefly, just go over the surface. Is it gonna be noticeable? No, but it's there, and it helps out the overall surface. Okay. All right. Last thing I want to do is I want to go into deformation. I want to go inflate just a little bit. You kind of see like when you bring it down like that. Kind of interesting. And then you go up, kind of swells everything, which is, to me, looks kind of neat. Kind of like that. Depends on really what you want. Uh, let's see how that looks. Looks good. right, so we're kind of moving through, high resolution detailing, low resolution detailing, just covering a bunch of different aspects of this. I know it takes, quite a while to get through it, but these are the kind of steps we need to take. We're going to be making something that looks nice. It looks like a good mesh. Okay, so I'm going to go and stop for right now, and then we'll come back and continue.